not enough words to properly describe what just went down at the end of WWE Elimination Chamber 2025 live in Toronto, Canada from the Rogers Center, where after John Cena successfully won the Elimination Chamber match to punch his ticket to a championship match with Cody Rhodes in the main event of WrestleMania, a lot of stuff happens, but in the end, we get a moment that no one truly ever thought would happen, and that is John Cena turned heel. John Cena, for the first time since all the way back in the early days of his career, is a bad guy. Not only a bad guy, not only a heel, but John Cena joined forces with the final boss himself, The Rock, and they laid a brutal beatdown on Cody Rhodes at the end of this show. So like I mentioned, John Cena, this is DerekJ Speaks, by the way. I'm so thrown off by this whole moment here. This was truly shocking. But after John Cena won the Elimination Chamber, he outlasted all the other guys in that match. He's still out there, and out comes Cody Rhodes to congratulate him. They shake hands, they point at the WrestleMania sign. Not long after that, we have The Rock come out, accompanied, for reasons still unknown, by Travis Scott, who was out there in the ring for the entire duration of the final segment. So, again, I have no idea why he was there, but he was there. But The Rock comes in the ring, and he wants Cody Rhodes to embrace him as his champion, and he wants Cody to sell him his soul. Of course, we know the now infamous segment that took place on SmackDown a week ago prior to this event here, where The Rock came out and wanted Cody to be his brother, be his champion, which we all interpreted as his corporate champion, and of course, sell him his soul. A very weird, odd, bizarre segment that set the groundwork for some crazy possibilities, which I went over in that video. And you fast forward to this show here, The Rock wanted his answer, and Cody Rhodes told The Rock that he has indeed sold his soul, but he sold his soul to that ring and to all the fans who were there and who have ever supported him and cheered for him and believed in him. And in as simple of words as possible, Cody Rhodes told The Rock, "Hey Rock, go fuck yourself." And the building exploded for this moment here. When Cody popped that line off, they went absolutely berserk for Cody in this moment. The Rock is standing there dumbfounded. John Cena is in the background. He's hopping up and down. He's going crazy for it. He's laughing and all that. This moment by itself was pretty crazy. But then, of course, John Cena comes over to Cody Rhodes, who by this point has turned his back to The Rock, and he faces Cena. Cena daps him up, pulls him in, they hug, but in doing so, now John Cena, behind Cody's back, is face to face with The Rock, and he looks at him, and as he's smiling and laughing, that facial expression changes, and it becomes a very serious look. And you see Rock, they didn't get a good, clean shot of him on the camera, but you see The Rock slowly nodding his head in approval, and then he does the throat slit. The same throat slit that The Rock did at the end of the Bad Blood pay-per-view when he showed up last year. The same throat slit that he did at the end of the tag match at WrestleMania Night 1 last year. So Rock does the throat slit, and he gives Cena the go-ahead, basically, and John Cena pulls Cody back around, and he pulls him in, and he kicks him right in the balls. Gives him a low blow, and then just unleashes a brutal beatdown on Cody Rhodes. And as I look over at the TV with the post-show still on in the background, they bring out John Cena to give his first words about what happens here. And of course, Cena drops the mic because he has nothing to say. Because, of course, they're not going to have John Cena give his first words after his heel turn on the post-show to the pay-per-view. You save that for TV. So that was cool. But in this beatdown here, Cena is just whooping Cody's ass here. Not the first brutal ass whooping on this show, by the way. We'll get into that. But Cena is just beating Cody down. He picks up a pair of brass knucks. I couldn't tell if that was given to him by either The Rock or Travis Scott, who, again, Travis Scott is still in the ring during all of this. I have no idea what he was doing there, but he was there. But Cena gets a pair of brass knucks. He's punching Cody with it. Cody starts bleeding, by the way. So he's bleeding. Cena strips him down. He's choking him out with his own tie. He's just brutalizing him. Travis Scott comes over and he just punches Cody right in the side of the face. And then they showed Cody later on, like right at the beginning of the post show. They showed Cody as he was getting up, his bloody face and all that. And you saw the side of his eye. It looked like it was starting to swell up. I initially thought it was because of John Cena, who just got a really good punch in with the brass knucks to make it look good. Maybe that was it, but there was footage that showed a different angle of Travis Scott just punching Cody right in the face. And I assume that's where he got what is now becoming a black eye for him. So, brutal stuff. And of course, Cena and Travis Scott hold Cody down. Travis Scott, who's not a worker, didn't really do a good job of holding him down, but he tried. Cena was there to help. Good thing he wasn't spot calling here. So they were holding him down, and The Rock pulls off the weight belt, that custom weight belt that he made, that he presented to Cody, or he showed Cody in his little video message on the previous night's SmackDown. And he was whipping him with this belt just over and over again on the back. Cena was knocking out Cody with the championship belt. He picked up the belt and was just bashing Cody in the face with it a bunch of times. And in the end, John Cena stood tall with The Rock. They stood tall side by side. Cena, Rock, and Travis Scott, they all left together. Cody is just in the middle of the ring, a broken, bloody mess. As they went off the air and went to the post show, the commentators, who sold this pretty well, especially Michael Cole, who sells these moments very well, but they're helping Cody up. They're helping him get out of the ring. Cody looks shell-shocked, which is how we've been seeing Cody damn near every single week for the past several weeks. Just been looking completely stunned and shell-shocked. So it was crazy. And yeah, so it is official. John Cena will be challenging Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. Night 2 main event, I presume. And this has been a match rumored for several months now. And I like Cody. And I like John Cena. I was not overly enthusiastic about the idea of the two of them facing off at WrestleMania. I wasn't that big on the idea of John Cena wrestling for a championship at WrestleMania anyway. I thought with this being his last year and them wanting to tell the story of him going after his 17th championship, maybe they could extend it out across the year and not immediately go into it at WrestleMania. But I accepted it, and the idea of him and Cody, I don't know, you might get some fire promos in there for a few weeks, but it really just felt like two versions of the same person facing each other. You have and they were even starting that promotion on commentary after Cena won the Chamber, with saying like how, you know, Cena, the biggest star from the past, facing the biggest star of today, and Cody. And that was already kind of in my mind there. But then we get this here, John Cena's heel turn, which, I mean, it just happened literally minutes and minutes ago, so very fresh in my mind. But there's no doubt in my mind that this is one of the most shocking endings to a pay-per-view of all time. And it is truly one of the most shocking heel turns in the history of professional wrestling. Even people saying like, oh, well, I saw it coming, or I predicted it would happen. I don't truly believe. Like, I mean, sure, people predicted that. I even floated the idea in my SmackDown review the previous week after that Rock segment that this could lead to Cody saying no and John Cena winning the chamber and John Cena saying yes and turning heel for the first time. But even then, I kind of blew it off because the thought of John Cena turning heel at any point during his full-time run years and years ago when he was the man was a pipe dream for many people. Many people wanted to see John Cena turn heel, and year after year went by and it never happened. And then he slowly transitioned into the part-time role. And then, of course, coming back, this is his final year. The fans love John Cena. Elder statesman, he's a legend. He's finally getting the huge ovations from the crowd that WWE has wanted him to have for his entire run, that he never truly got when he was the top guy. So to turn him heel now in his final year as a full-time competitor, it seemed crazy, but I give them credit for having the balls to do it. Everyone involved, Triple H, The Rock, John Cena himself, which reports and rumors were going around. I think even Cena confirmed it many years ago in 2012. There was a plan in place for him to turn heel in the lead up to his match with The Rock at WrestleMania 28, either in the lead up to it or coming out of it. And he went all in on it. He had new gear made. He had new music. He was going all in on it. But then Vince McMahon got cold feet and he pulled back. And that was at a time where they were focused on Make-A-Wish stuff, and it was a much tamer product. Cena was the guy, and there was no other guy who they really were building up around to take that place if Cena were to flip that switch and turn heel. Now, you have Cody Rhodes. You have these big faces on the brand who the company has been built around for the last year, with John Cena not being around. And so you have Cena here in his final run, and they decided to turn him heel to shake things up and shake up this WrestleMania hype. I've been reading and hearing a lot over the last month about the lack of excitement and enthusiasm for the build-up to WrestleMania this year. And finally now, coming out of this show, we get a little bit of an excitement. This is the much-needed jolt of adrenaline and electricity that this WrestleMania build needed to really get people excited, get people invested. John Cena turning heel, something that hardly anyone ever could have predicted would ever happen. This goes right up there with the Hogan heel turn in the formation of the NWO in '96. This is up there with Austin shaking Vince McMahon's hand at the end of WrestleMania 17 in 2001, killing the Attitude Era and starting his heel run. This is right up there with those moments as just something you never truly thought you would ever see. I can only speak for myself. I never thought I would ever see it. And now I am firmly invested in John Cena and Cody Rhodes. Like I said, Cena came out on the post show, didn't say anything. Obviously, they're going to say that for TV. Is Cena going to be on TV this upcoming week? I don't know. I know he's been announced for a bunch of live events when they're on their overseas tour deeper in the month of March. Well, it's March now, so surely that's going to be coming up. So even if he's not on TV this upcoming week, he could be on TV the next week and the week after that and the week after that. And we'll see him a little bit more regularly, which was a criticism heading into to Elimination Chamber and the Rumble, where Cena only made sporadic appearances. He didn't make any appearances. He appeared on the Raw debut on Netflix, and then he didn't show up again until the Rumble. And then he cut his promo at the Rumble post-show press conference, and then he didn't appear again until this show. So hopefully we get Cena on TV more. I don't know if this is a direct partnership between him and The Rock. The Rock is now on the post-show, and he's talking, but I've learned how The Rock just blatantly kills kayfabe when he's talking. Triple H did stuff like that too when he was talking. So I'm not even paying attention to that right now. If something important was said, then I'm sorry I missed it. But I'm not sure where this partnership and this alliance between John Cena and The Rock is going to go leading up to WrestleMania. I don't know if The Rock is going to be appearing in the build up to WrestleMania. I assume he'll be there, and he'll either be directly in John Cena's corner or he'll be there in some way to help him. But this is Cena. This is Hollywood. John Cena was born on this show. And I'm very curious to hear the first words from John Cena. Hear him cut that promo. See him walk to the ring, get in that ring, get on the microphone, and hear what he has to say to justify his heel turn and to explain his actions. It's pretty clear to me. John Cena is in his final year, and he, while hesitant at first to chase after title number 17, after coming up short in the Royal Rumble, he really pushed that he needs that moment. He wants that moment at WrestleMania to win championship number 17 and break that record and go out on a high note, and he was willing to do whatever it took. And people were even pointing out when he did that press conference, that post-show for the Rumble, that the way he came off talking about how him winning the championship at WrestleMania, it's what's best for business and all this. People were talking about how out of character it was for Cena to take charge like that and to kind of come off that way. Even on commentary on TV over the next several weeks after that, they were mentioning that. Michael Cole made mention of that, how Cena was kind of out of character there. So even that was a tease. And then, of course, this whole Rock thing just popped up out of nowhere. So I don't know to what degree and how long-term of a plan that has been to involve The Rock and to turn Cena heel. I don't know if this was something they just decided within the last few weeks or month, or if this is something that's been in the makings for a while now. I'm not sure. It doesn't matter, because it makes for a very interesting direction heading into WrestleMania. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And, I'm not doing WrestleMania predictions for another month and a half as we get closer to it. But if you ask me right now, I cannot envision a heel John Cena winning his 17th World Championship at WrestleMania. If this was any other year, I would say it's very likely to happen, and it probably will happen. But they have established, John Cena has made it very clear, and he has been very, very adamant about the fact that this is his final year in WWE, and this is his final year as a full-time wrestler. So because of that, I cannot envision a scenario where Cena's gonna be a heel and win his 17th World Championship at WrestleMania as a heel. I just don't see it. So if you were to ask me right now, I do see Cody Rhodes beating John Cena. And I also don't think that this heel turn is going to last that long, if you were to ask me that as well. When you think about some of the big heel turns and you want to compare this to that in terms of its longevity and how it'll last, I don't see this heel turn in the same way of Hogan's heel turn or Austin's heel turn that just carried a whole brand new life for them and added a whole other year or several years worth of creative and stuff for them to do. I look at this in the same vein as Hollywood Rock in 2003 and Shawn Michaels' heel turn in the summer of 2005 against Hulk Hogan, where it was only a few months of really quality television and some great promos and all that, but once it's over, it's over. Particularly Shawn Michaels, where Shawn Michaels turned heel on Hogan in July. He had weeks of really entertaining promos healing it up on Hulk Hogan. And then you get to SummerSlam, they do the match, they shake hands, and then immediately the night after, Shawn Michaels is back to being a babyface, and they just pretend like it didn't happen. I know that wasn't the original plan, but that's how it went down. I can see a scenario of that happening at WrestleMania between Cody Rhodes and John Cena, where we'll get Cena as a heel, and it'll probably be very entertaining to watch him as this corporate, evil John Cena for the next several weeks. But then come WrestleMania, after a hard-fought battle between him and Cody, and I'm very curious as to what kind of match these two are going to have. Cena did look good out there in the ring during the Chamber. He was hitting a lot of his greatest hits, his 5 moves of doom and all that, but we'll see if he can have a fully fleshed out one-on-one singles match, because lost in all of this is the fact that John Cena hasn't exactly had too many great singles matches over the past couple of years. It's honestly been a long while since John Cena had what I personally would call a really great singles match. And, him being less than part-time and him coming in for a match here and there has not really helped with that. But we'll see how motivated he is and how good of a ring general Cody can be out there, and we'll see what kind of match they can put together. But hey, you know what? If they throw all the bells and whistles on it, they could make for a really magical moment at WrestleMania. So I'm sure there's other big thoughts and predictions that I could have for it. I'll try to pump out some reviews and thoughts on the weeks leading up to WrestleMania. I'll try not to have such a long gap between here and then my WrestleMania predictions. So if big stuff happens on Raw or SmackDown involving John Cena or any of the big players coming into WrestleMania, I'll try to give my thoughts on it and, really flesh them out as the weeks go on. And then once we get to WrestleMania, we'll see how it all pays off. But here on this particular night, the moment of Cena turning heel and laying a beat down on Cody Rhodes along with The Rock, and I still cannot understand why Travis Scott was out there. It is just so random. You're going to look back on this moment in history. John Cena's finally turning heel in wrestling, and it forever is etched in history that he did it with Travis Scott alongside him. Hogan had Hall and Nash when he turned heel. Austin had Vince McMahon when he turned heel. John Cena had The Rock and Travis Scott. It's crazy. But I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this heel run works out for Cena, how long it lasts. Maybe it will last him the whole year. I don't know. But I have my thoughts on that, and we'll see how things play out. But about 25 minutes into this, let's get into some of the other stuff that happened on this show, because this was a pretty big show. And I might as well kind of wrap up some of my thoughts on the men's chamber match, because that match was really good. Cena won, but coming out of this chamber match, there were some directions set up for other WrestleMania matches. Not so much for Logan Paul, who got the most heat in this entire match, but we did get some interaction with Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. Priest, after eliminating Drew from the Royal Rumble, Priest also rolled up Drew and eliminated him in this match. Drew was the first man eliminated from the chamber, and of course that pissed him off, and he laid out Damian Priest with a Claymore kick, and that left Priest laying high and dry for Logan Paul to hit him with a frog splash off the top of the pod to eliminate him. So the rumors coming out of the Rumble were that they were going in the direction of Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest at WrestleMania. Is that the biggest match they could be doing with Drew McIntyre? Clearly no, but they have plans for a lot of the other big names, like John Cena and people like CM Punk and Seth Rollins, who had their own story play out in this match. On the SmackDown the night before this event, Seth Rollins was talking about how he is going to win this chamber match and how he needs to win this chamber match. But just as important for Seth, the only thing almost as, if not more important for Seth Rollins than himself winning, was making sure that CM Punk did not win. And after Punk eliminated Seth Rollins, it was actually a crazy double team combo with Punk and Cena, where Punk hit Rollins with a GTS, Cena hit Rollins with an attitude adjustment, and then Punk covers him to pin him. So Rollins is eliminated, but he does not leave yet. So as Cena and Punk, which it was cool to see them go back and forth, they're mixing it up. At one point, Punk pushes Cena away, and Punk falls into the bottom ropes, and his head is facing outward onto the chamber floor, and Rollins comes in out of nowhere and stomps Punk's head onto the chamber floor. And then Cena quickly pulls Punk back in, locks in the STF, Punk passes out. You could even see him kind of looking out over at Seth Rollins, who at this point was now outside of the chamber, looking in, screaming and laughing, screaming at Punk to die and all of that. So Punk passed out, and that gave Cena the win, which in and of itself was another tease as to what would come with Cena by the end of the night, where Cena happily took advantage of this cheating here. So that was another little tease for what another little setup for that. So, but yeah, so Seth Rollins lost, but he definitely made sure that Punk lost too. So now Punk has beef continuing with Seth Rollins, which would in theory set up a match between the two of them for WrestleMania, a rematch from their Raw Netflix debut match. But CM Punk is not the only one who has a bone to pick with Seth Rollins over some crazy stomps. There's a certain individual who got stomped repeatedly at the Royal Rumble. In fact, one of those stomps took place onto steel steps, that being Roman Reigns, who has been absent from television for several weeks. He wasn't going to be at the Chamber because he wasn't going to win and they didn't want to pin him. So I suspect that Roman, if not this upcoming week, very soon, he'll be back and he'll want to crack at Seth Rollins as well. And that will pave the way for another match that has been rumored online for several weeks, which is a triple threat match between Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins, which I'm not overly enthusiastic about that match because I would have preferred different matches and different kind of scenarios for these guys. I personally was rooting for a CM Punk Cody Rhodes championship match at WrestleMania. In fact, I would have gone as far as to have CM Punk basically be in the John Cena spot at the end of the show. Although I don't think it would have come across the same way with Punk as it did with Cena. That was perfect. That was a perfect moment. I wouldn't have changed it. I just thought, just on the surface, CM Punk and Cody Rhodes would have been a more interesting build for WrestleMania than Cody and Cena, but that was pre-heel turn for Cena, so I'm very much so looking forward to that. But the match itself should be huge, and there's clearly a story between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. Punk and Rollins, their story has been going on for a long time now, and even Punk and Roman, they have some history, involving Paul Heyman. I would have preferred to wait to see them in the ring together, going at it, be a singles match, but we'll have time for that. So, a triple threat here. I don't think anything is on the line. I don't think anything needs to be on the line. It's just three guys who want to kick the shit out of each other. That's it. And I think Seth Rollins should win that match, because Seth Rollins should have a bone thrown at him after getting pinned by CM Punk again. And after losing last year's WrestleMania, both nights that he competed on one leg with a fucked up back, Seth Rollins should go out there and get a win at WrestleMania. Also on this show, we had the Women's Elimination Chamber match, and Bianca Belair came out of it victorious. She was a big highlight in this match, as was Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan, who has just been on fire recently. Ever since, she was doing great work, character work and promo stuff as Women's World Champion, but in ring, I've really noticed her fully come together in ring ever since she lost that Women's World Championship to Rhea Ripley back at the start of the year. Ever since then, the tag team matches with her and Raquel against whether it be Bianca and Naomi or Damage Control, she's been killing it in the ring. She did great in the Rumble. She was the MVP of this chamber match. You know, you had Alexa out there. She did fine. And you had Bayley and Roxanne. Everyone did really good. But Liv was a strong standout in this match. Liv and Bianca's braid, who made for one of the more satisfying moments of the match, where Bianca and Liv were up top on a pod and Bianca just slashed Liv in the back with her braid. And it came down to the two of them, and it was a great finishing sequence that resulted in Bianca hitting the KOD and getting the win. And she is now set to face either Rhea Ripley or Io Sky for the Women's World Championship at WrestleMania. Of course, Rhea and Io, they have a championship match on Raw this upcoming Monday. So whoever wins that match will defend their championship against Bianca at WrestleMania. Now, the way I see this is we're either getting two matches. We're either getting Rhea versus Bianca one-on-one, which is a huge match. It's a big money match for the women, one of the biggest women's matches you can do. Or there's some kind of fuck finish between Rhea and Io, some sort of disputed finish, and we end up getting a triple threat and have Io Sky involved, which, while I'm not overly attached to the idea of doing a triple threat with those three women would kick ass. So that would be good. But Bianca, she gets the win here, but she got the win in spite of being absolutely traumatized at the beginning of the match. I was kind of burying the lead here because the match started out with Liv Morgan and Naomi. But before the match could really start, the chamber is still open and all that, we hear the music of Jade Cargill. After all these months, after being attacked and laid out, left for dead all those months ago, after falling off that platform, her head is smashed on the windshield of a car many feet below her. Jade Cargill finally makes her return. She's dressed in all black. She's looking stacked and jacked, just a complete badass here. She storms her way down the ramp, gets in that chamber. Liv is fearing for her life, and she goes right up to Liv, but then immediately sidesteps her and unleashes one of the most brutal beatdowns. Well, up to this point, one of them, like, it got topped by Cena later on the night, but even that, I don't think had anything on top of this. She whooped Naomi's ass in this segment here. She was beating her all around the chamber, all across the pods, on the glass, on the floor. She rammed the chamber door, I guess, right into Naomi. The whole time, Bianca is in her pod, and she is absolutely hysterical. She's banging on the glass. She is screaming. She's in tears. She is completely worked up. She sold it perfectly. Naomi, she sold all of this violence perfectly. She looked like a murder victim here. Liv was a troll, just laughing at all of this and laughing in Bianca's face as she was still in the pod. And Jade looked like an absolute monster. So while Bianca is set to challenge for a championship, she does have this story over here on the other show with Naomi and Jade, who, of course, people have been calling it for months. They've been calling it since the night it happened, that Jade Cargill obviously was not attacked by Nia Jax or Charlotte or Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. She was attacked by Naomi, the same Naomi who was not winning any big matches or championships up to that point in the year, and saddled up and became really close with Bianca to the point where she became a substitute tag team champion alongside Bianca. So just absolute insanity here. One has to assume we're getting Jade and Naomi in a singles match at WrestleMania. Where does Bianca fit into it? I mean, outside of a quick conversation and maybe a few segments on TV, let that play out on SmackDown, and then let Bianca play out a completely different story on Raw with either Rhea or Io or both, whatever direction they go in with that. But you can have her split time between the two shows and just play one story up there and play the story out on Friday. But really what that comes down to is between Jade and Naomi. Clearly Naomi had something to do with this, whether she outright attacked Naomi or Jade, or maybe Naomi had some help. I've seen some people throw out predictions of that. Maybe a debuting from NXT, Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend. Maybe we could form a trio with the two of them along with Naomi going up against Jade Cargill. Who knows? But that's clearly setting up something for WrestleMania, which will be really cool. We also on this show had an unsanctioned match between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. They were hyping this up as being like one of the most brutal, vicious matches that the two of them have ever had up to this point. But it was not. But it was still very, very brutal, very disturbing, very uncomfortable at certain points, especially towards the end, or it just got to a point where the fans just weren't reacting to stuff anymore. I mean, these guys were fighting in the crowd. They were dumping each other through the table, or several tables at that, dumping each other on each other's heads. Sammy, of course, was selling his neck after the package pile driver he suffered from Kevin Owens all those weeks ago. So he was in a bad way here. He had some fight in him. He even introduced a steel chair wrapped in barbed wire, and he was using it on Kevin Owens. Even hit Owens with a blue thunder bomb on top of the barbed wire steel chair. But Kevin Owens did get the better of Sammy as the match went on, and it got very uncomfortable as he was beating him on the outside. He hit him with several apron power bombs. We had officials and security and all that come out, but Kevin Owens hit him with one apron power bomb, and then he got him up and hit him for a second one. Then he rolled him back in the ring, and Kevin Owens got the win. Commentary sold it great. Everything about this felt very uncomfortable and eerie. I wish there was blood. Now, clearly they were saving the blood. There was no blood in either of the chamber matches, at least not intentional. I think Liv was bleeding on the back after that braid shot that Bianca gave her. But there was no blood in this match, and I was very disappointed at that. But then once we got what we had at the end of the show with Cody busted open, it made sense that they didn't want blood all over the show. I mean, I don't think there would have been an issue if you had some blood here and then also have blood there, but it added to the element of shock and surprise, and it really added something to that moment. So I understand why they didn't want to do it here. But a match like this, with how personal it became in the build-up and how vicious these two were being out there, it would have been cool to see blood. But it is what it is. They still had a really great match, and I enjoyed it. But after the match, Kevin Owens was not done. He was prepared to dish out more punishment on Sami Zayn on the exposed concrete floor when finally Randy Orton makes his return. He walks out very slowly, and he's going face to face with Kevin Owens, who's now back in the ring. The two of them mix it up a little bit, but Kevin Owens is laid out with an RKO. Randy Orton picks up a steel chair, but as he's standing there looking down at Kevin, looking out at the crowd's chanting for something else. For once, when Randy Orton threw the chair away, the fans cheered for it. There was some boos, but there was enough cheers because they knew what was coming. And Randy Orton, he backed up. Kevin Owens is laid on his front, but he's starting to kind of get up in proper position. And you can tell Randy Orton is going for that punt kick. And as he's coming close and charging at Kevin Owens, all the officials and security run in and block Randy. They pull Kevin Owens out of harm's way and escort him quickly up the ramp and out of the arena. And the fans just showered this with boos. The ultimate cop tease here. But Randy Orton, for good measure, laid out a bunch of security goofs with RKOs. So clearly, this is a match that people have been expecting to be set up for WrestleMania for a long time. After Randy Orton got laid out with a pile driver by Kevin Owens all the way back in November. And Randy's been off TV for all these months. And people were expecting him to come back as Saturday Night's main event. Didn't happen. Or come back on the Raw Netflix debut. Didn't happen. Come back before the Rumble. It didn't happen. Come back at the Royal Rumble. Still didn't happen. And even with this match, when Kevin Owens just beat Sami, they did that intentionally to kind of make you think like, oh, damn, Randy still is not back. Is he ever coming back? Is what's going to happen here? And then, of course, he comes out after the match. So, which, I mean, you know, it wouldn't have made a difference. Obviously, they didn't want him to come out during the match because they wanted to give Kevin Owens the win. But still, Randy Orton was there, in his gear, mind you, and he just left Sami Zayn to die at the hands of Kevin Owens. But it is what it is. I don't know what they're going to do with Sami. Clearly, he's going to be off TV for a long time. I don't think they're going to leave him off the WrestleMania card. But I don't know what he's going to do at WrestleMania either. They've been teasing some stuff with him and Karrion Kross. Not sure if they're going to go in that direction. But Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, very clearly the direction for WrestleMania. And then the last thing to talk about on the show was a tag team match where hometown girl, Hall of Famer Trish Stratus, looking as lovely as ever, she teamed up with WWE Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton to take on Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. The weakest part of the entire show, hands down. The one thing on this entire show that everyone will forget about. You had a great women's chamber to open the show. You had a great unsanctioned match with a hot angle. Even in the women's chamber match, it started out with a hot angle. And you had a hot post-match angle to end the unsanctioned match. The men's chamber, and one of the biggest moments in wrestling history at the very end. No one is going to remember this tag team match. It was fine for what it was. If it took place on TV, it would have fit just as well. And it was just a moment for Trish Stratus to have a moment in front of her fans. They were talking about how her kids were watching her wrestle live for the first time. That's really what this was all about. And Tiffany Stratton got the rub because I believe it was her who picked up the win in this match. It was her who pinned Nia to win the match for her and Trish. So this gave Tiffany the rub. Tiffany is becoming a babyface now and is fully not completely, but she is being pushed into that direction. So getting the rub from Trish in her hometown here on her pathway to facing Charlotte at WrestleMania, where I don't think is going to be a very victorious night for Tiffany Stratton on that night. I hope I'm wrong, but I doubt it. I'll say this. If I'm wrong and Tiffany Stratton does win at WrestleMania, it's only a matter of time before Charlotte gets that belt back. Whether it's at WrestleMania or after WrestleMania, Charlotte Flair is going to win that championship. So I almost wish they just do it at Mania just to get it over with, and then Tiffany can be in a real babyface position and chase after that championship. But we'll see. But that was it. Nothing really groundbreaking about that. Again, I feel bad for the women. You know, that tag match, I'm sure they fought hard, but coming out of this show, no one's going to remember that match. But that is where we leave things, and that is where I leave you guys. So thank you for listening, and I will be talking to you in the coming weeks, picking certain Raw shows to talk about, certain SmackDown shows to talk about as this WrestleMania card fills out. There's other teases and WrestleMania directions that could be set up that were not taking place on this show. Stuff with the Intercontinental Championship, the U.S. title, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, tag team title stuff with the New Day, a bunch of different directions for WrestleMania, and I'm very interested to see how the card shapes out over the next few weeks. But heel John Cena is definitely the driving, motivating force heading into WrestleMania. Oh, and I also forgot to mention with the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn match, they did it interesting where they had like a spotlight on them in the ring and the rest of the crowd was darkened. That was interesting. But aside from that, that is it for me. If you like what you heard and you enjoyed me rambling on here, thank you. Hit that like button, subscribe, follow me on Twitter /X at DerekJ Speaks, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you. See you later.